Shalom, shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. I am Servant Ariel, and I'm going to do this lesson titled, Don't Faint During Adversity. And I'm going to start with the book of Luke, chapter 9, verse 61 through 62. And it reads, And another also said, Lord, I will follow thee, but let me first go bid them farewell, which were at home at my house. Verse 62, And Hamashiach Yahushai said unto him, No man having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom. So this is him giving us encouragement and giving us strength to continue steadfast in this race and to continue running this race with endurance. Looking unto him, Hamashiach Yahushai, which is the author and finisher of our faith. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 24. And I'm going to read verse 10. And it reads, If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. So this was Solomon. This was him putting this in his writings. He said, If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. So you got to make sure that your calling and election is sure. And you don't want to give up the race. In other words, you want to continue running the race. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 30. Isaiah 30 and verse 20. And it reads, And though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. So even though the Lord is putting us through all these trials, these tribulations, and he's given us the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, but now everyone is hearing the truth. Now the truth is out so that no one can say they never heard this truth. Everyone they're not going to be able to have an excuse, because everyone is going to is going to hear this truth before he cracks that sky. He said, everyone's going to know about him from the least to the greatest. And I'm going to bring 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 8 through 10. And it reads, We are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. We're having trials. We're having tribulations. This is Apostle Paul breaking it down, saying we're troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Verse 9, persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Because he said he'll never leave us nor forsake us. And I want to say shalom to everyone that's in the chat and everyone that's listening in. So let me read that verse 9 again. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. And he's never going to leave us nor forsake us. He won't give us more than we can handle. Verse 10. Always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Hamashiach Yahushai, that the life also of Hamashiach Yahushai might be made manifest in our bodies. So everyone is going to be able to see what you're about by your life. That's why he was saying in Matthew 5 to let your light so shine so all men can see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Now I'm going to Proverbs chapter 3. And I'm going to read verse 5 through 7. And it reads, Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. So remember, he said, my thoughts are not your thoughts in the book of Isaiah. So we don't need to try to figure this thing out. We need to just stay obedient to what he's actually telling us to do through the precepts, because through thy precepts, we get understanding. And we should hate every false way. Verse 6, In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. So we have to acknowledge our Lord and Governor and just and let him just navigate. We don't need to try to do the driving. Let him do the driving for us, and we need to sit back and go for the ride. Verse 7, be not wise in thine own eyes, fear the Lord and depart from evil. So we need to understand that these thoughts, his thoughts is not our thoughts, nor his ways is not like our ways. So we need to just humble down, stay obedient to what he's telling us, and follow the lamp, because the commandments is a lamp and the law is light, and reproofs of instructions are the ways of life. And from there, I'm going to go to Philippians chapter 4. Philippians 4. I'm going to bring out verse 12 through 13, and it reads, I know both how to be abased, and I know how to abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, both to be abound and to suffer need. So Apostle Paul is saying he knows how it is to have the things in life and to be without things, and how he has to be therefore content with whatever the Most High Yahweh has given him. Verse 13, I can do all things through Hamashiach Yahushai, who strengthens me. So we got to remember this and understand that we can't do it alone, but we can do it through him. 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 7 through 11. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7 through 11, and it reads, casting all your cares upon him, for he careth for you. So we have to cast all our cares upon him. Everything, we have to take it to him. If you have any problems, any petitions, you take it to the throne of grace and leave it at his lap. Verse 8, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about seeking whom he may devour. So that's why we have to put on the whole armor of Hamashiach Yahushai, because we're going to get fiery darts thrown at us in all angles, in all places. So that's why he's letting us know, always be sober and be vigilant, be mindful, be circumspect. You have to keep watch, pray. Verse 9, whom resist steadfast in the faith, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. Because we're all going through trials. We're all going through tribulations. But you have to be able to continue and endure. And even though you're going through adversity, you have to continue on pressing towards the goal, which is the high calling of a Mashiach Yahushai. Verse 10. But the God Yahweh of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Hamashiach Yahushai, after that you have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. So he's gonna make you perfect. And the way you become perfect is by keeping the laws. That's why he said, be ye therefore perfect as your Father in heaven, which like your Father which is in heaven is perfect. That's what a Mashiach was saying in Matthew. And he's going to establish you, strengthen you. He's going to settle you. Verse 11, to him be glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. So that's who has the dominion, who Hamashiach has been given all power and authority because what he did as a sacrificial lamb. Now he's been given the power over all flesh. And he has the powers up in the heavens, powers in the earth, and powers under the earth. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of James, chapter 1. The book of James, chapter 1, and I'm going to read verse 2 through 4. And it reads, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations. So when you're going through trials, tribulations, he said to count it all joy if you're having those problems. Verse 3, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. So we're going to have to be patient in this and have humility. And then verse 4, it says, but let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. So that way he's going to supply all of your needs. You won't be wanting nothing. He's going to take care of all your needs. And so that's why if any of you lack wisdom or anything you need, you're supposed to go to Yahweh, who gives it to all men liberally, freely. He doesn't upbraid and hold it back. He gives it to everyone freely. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 through 31. And it reads, Romans 8, chapter 8, verse 28 through 31. And it reads, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh, to them who are the called according to his purpose. So we know everything works together for the good to all those who are called. He said many are called, but few are chosen. But he said it all works together for the good according to those who are called according to his purpose. Verse 29, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. So Hamashiach Yahushua is the firstborn, the first fruits of the creatures of all people. He's Alpha and he's Omega. He's the beginning and he's also the last. And verse 30, moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. And he touches on that in John 17 when he was saying that prayer. He was saying, sanctify them with thy truth. Thy word is truth. And how he says he chose them and he is glorified in them. Who was the them that he was talking about in John 17? He was talking about the ones that was chosen, which was Yasharallah, the 12 tribes. And then he's also talking about the elect in that as well. He said he is glorified in them. Let me just get that real quick, just to bring some clarity in John 17, just to go with this precept here, because he was touching on that. He's in John 17 and 23. It says, I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me and has loved me as thou hast loved me. So he's letting it be known that there's a certain group of people that he chose from the foundation of the world. And then let's go up to verse 15. He says, let me start at 15. I pray not that thou shouldst take them out of the world, but thou should keep them from the evil. They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world. Verse 17, sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. As thou hast sent me into the world, even so I also sent them into the world. So there is the them again. He's talking about the them. And then let's go up. Verse 9, John 17, 9 and 10. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. He says, those people you gave me, Father, are mine. And the ones you gave me are yours, and now they're mine. And verse 10, and all mine are thine. All mine are yours, Father, and I am glorified in them. So now let's go back to Romans chapter 8, and go back to verse 30. Romans chapter 8 and verse 30. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called. And whom he called, them he also justified. And whom he justified, them he also glorified. So he's saying to them, he said it 3 times in verse 30. And then verse 31, what shall we then say to these things? If Yahweh be for us, who could be against us? So now he's asking the question, if Yahweh is for us, who could be against us? Now people can be against us, but Yahweh is for us. And it's not a good thing to try to go up against the one, not Yahweh, because he said in Hebrews chapter 10, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living Yahweh, the living God, it says. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of Joshua, Joshua chapter 1, and I'm going to read verse 9 through 11, and it reads, have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of a good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy Yahweh is with thee, whithersoever thou goest. So this was Joshua. He was letting us know the Lord is going to be with us. We know the Lord was speaking through all the prophets, came in the volume of the book. So he said he's going to be with us wherever we goest. Verse 10, then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, verse 11, pass through the host and command the people, saying, prepare your victuals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in to possess the land, which the Lord your God, Yahweh, giveth you to possess it. So if the Lord, if he says it, like it says in Numbers through Moses, if he said it, isn't he going to make it good? If he gives a command and says he's going to do something, he's going to stay faithful to himself. He's going to do what he says he's going to do. And I'm going to just jump up to verse 8, Joshua 1 and 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So look at the good news there. If you're being obedient, like he said with the prophet Isaiah in chapter 1, I believe around verse 23 in there, if you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. So this is what Joshua was saying. Just be obedient, and then you're going to have good success, and you're going to prosper. And from there, I'm going to go to the book of John. The book of John, chapter 14. This is the words of Mashiach, verse 27 through 28. And it says, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. So this is Hamashiach telling us he's going to give us peace. The peace he's going to give us, not as the world gives, because we don't get any peace. We go through trials. We go through adversity. But that's why the title is Don't Faint During Adversity. We have to persevere and stay steadfast and unmovable and continue on doing the work. And then verse 28 reads, you have heard how I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If you loved me, you would rejoice, because I said, I go unto the Father, for my Father is greater than I. So that's where he's at. He's seated on the right hand of the throne of Yahweh, of God Almighty. That's where he's seated now. So he's been exalted above every name. And I'm going to jump over to 2 Chronicles, chapter 15, and I'm going to read verse 1 through 7. And it reads, and the Spirit of Yahweh came upon Azariah, the son of Oded. Verse 2, and he went out to meet Asia, and said unto him, hear ye me, Asia, and all Yahweh, Judah, and Benjamin. The Lord is with you, while you be with him. And if you seek him, he will be found of you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. So there's a stipulation. That's why he said in Amos, chapter 3. Can two walk together unless they be in agreement? So we have to continue with this covenant that he gave us, that he made through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we have to walk in agreement with our Lord and Governor. Verse 3. Now for a long season, Israel had been without the true God, Yahweh, and without a teaching priest, and without law. So for a while, he wasn't there. They were without him. Verse 4. But when they in their trouble did turn unto the Lord, Yahweh of Israel, and sought him, he was found of them. So that's the encouragement and the good news, that if you seek for me, he says, you will find me. In Jeremiah, if you search for me with your whole heart. Verse 5. And in those times there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. So if we didn't stick to the laws, the statutes, the commandments, things just didn't go our way. Verse 6. And nations was destroyed of nation, and city of city. For Yahweh did vex them with all adversity. So he's not for us when we're not for him. But now that we're being for him, now things are moving. It's moving him. He's up in the spiritual realm. And now you see all the things happening in the world now. You see that he's gathering all the nations over to the valley of Jehoshaphat. He's getting them all together for this battle to get us out of this captivity. Verse 7. Be ye strong, therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. He says, don't give up. Be strong. Don't let your hands be weak. He says your work is going to be rewarded. Remember in Revelations, he says, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. So we have to continue doing the work that he told us to do. So the title of this lesson is Don't Faint During Adversity, because you're going to get a reward, the ones that continue on. Now I'm going to go to Romans chapter 12. Apostle Paul again. Romans 12 and verse 1 through 2. And it reads, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of Yahweh, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto Yahweh, which is your reasonable service. So he's saying we got to put our bodies out there. You know, we have to go through some trials, some tribulations. People, there's a lot of bad spirits out there. And people may say things. They do a lot of things, but this is what he said to do. Verse 2, and be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh. So everything that we were taught, we have to throw all that away and be retaught again. That's what he was telling Nicodemus when he says you must be born again. You have to have the renewing of your mind and be transformed from the way you think about all of these lies that they pushed in this society, like that wicked day they just did, Halloween, or Thanksgiving that's coming up, or Christmas. He said not to do any of those things. And I'm going to jump over to Psalms 34. Psalms 34, verse 19 to 22. And it reads, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. So even though you're going through the water of adversity, you're going through trials, he said, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivereth him out of them all. Verse 20, he keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. And we know that when Hamashiach was on the cross, they didn't break none of his bones. Verse 21, evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. So he's letting it be known what's going to happen to all the ones that's wicked. He says they're going to be desolate. Let me read 21 again. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. All those that hate the people that are doing Yahweh's work, he's coming after them. He's coming after those adversaries. He says they're going to be desolate. Verse 22. The Lord redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. That's why he said he's going to supply all of our needs according to his riches and glory. We don't have to worry about tomorrow, like he said in Matthew. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough problems of its own, sufficient in the day in its own troubles. So we don't have to worry about all that stuff. Now I'm going to the book of Isaiah 26 and verse 3 through 4. And it reads, Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. So this is, you'll have that peace that surpasses all understanding. Verse 4, Trust in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Yahweh is everlasting strength. This is where you're going to get your strength. So this is what he told us to do. And now I'm going to go to Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 through 7. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6 through 7, and it reads, Be careful for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto Yahweh. So that's why I mentioned that earlier. So if you have any petitions or you have requests, you take it to the throne of grace so that you can obtain mercy and find help in a time of need. Verse 7, And the peace of Yahweh, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Hamashiach Yahushai. So this is who's going to give you that peace that surpasses all understanding. So in order to have this peace and for us to be able to sit under our fig tree and to be doing all these things, we have to be obedient so that he can usher in the kingdom. But before it's ushered in, he has to take care of some adversaries here first. So now I'm going to the book of Isaiah, chapter 66, and I'm going to read verse 15 through 18. And it reads, For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. So this is how he's coming, and they're already seeing the sightings of the chariots. Now they're calling them UPAs. They don't even want to call them, they were saying UFOs for years, now UPAs, but they know what they know what they are, and they can't catch them because he has, it's just, he's above, like he said in John. He says, I'm from above and you're from beneath. They can't fathom his wisdom and his technology nor his might. Verse 16, For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. So before we actually have all that, be able to sit under our fig tree, he's going to plead over in the valley of Jehoshaphat with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord is going to be many. He's not going to be on his knees. This is him destroying the people. And then verse 17, They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh. So the ones that continue going on to those Sunday churches, sitting in the gardens, eating pork and pig feet and all this stuff they shouldn't be eating swine's flesh, and the abominations and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Lord. So the ones that continue eating all this stuff, the Lord said he's going to take care of all these people. And I see Sister Dorothy just coming in. Shalom to Sister Dorothy. Shalom, Akwat. And verse 18 reads, For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. So everyone is going to see him. Every eye is going to see him, even those that pierced him. Everyone's going to see him. So from there, I'm going to go to the book of Amos. So this is how we're going to get that peace. It's going to have to be some war first. Amos chapter 9, verse 10. And it reads, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say, the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. So he's speaking through the prophet Amos. He said, now all the sinners of his people, now this is talking to us, Yasharallah. Remember, he said in Peter, judgment must begin with Israel. So judgment must begin with us first. Where is that going to leave the sinners and the unbelievers? So he's making it clear that we got to get our house in order. We got to make sure we're doing things right and that are pleasing in his sight. And from there, I'm going to stay in the book of Amos. I'm going to jump over to chapter 5 of Amos. And I'm going to read verse 10 through 16. And it reads, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. A lot of people, they don't like hearing the truth. They don't like hearing the words of Yahweh. That's why Amos put this here and said, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Verse 11, for as much, therefore, as your treading is upon the poor, and you take from the burdens of wheat, you have built houses of hewn stone, but you shall not dwell in them. You have planted pleasant vineyards, but you shall not drink wine of them. So he's saying, this goes with what David said in Psalms 127. If the Lord don't build a house, the house was made in vain. So it has to be built the right way on a Mashiach Yahushai. Verse 12, for I know your manifold transgressions and your mighty sins. He knows, he's omnipotent. He sees all and knows all. They afflict the just. They take a bribe and they turn aside the poor in the gate from their right. So he knows how they come. They go in the back rooms and write all these unrighteous decrees and all these unrighteous laws. He knows all about it. He knows what they're doing. There, verse 13, therefore the prudent shall keep silence in that time, for it is an evil time. Verse 14, verse 14, seek good and not evil, that you may live. So this is, he's pleading with us, and he's telling us how we can be safe. Seek good and not evil, that you may live. And so the Lord, the God, Yahweh of hosts, shall be with you as you have spoken. Verse 15, hate the evil and love the good, and establish judgment in the gate. It may be that the Lord Yahweh of hosts will be gracious unto the remnant of Joseph. Because the prophecy says that 2/3 of our people are going to be cut off and die. And that third, he's going to bring through the fire, which is a fire of affliction, like he's doing, and that bread of adversity, like he's doing right now. And then he's going to refine them as gold is refined. Let me read verse 16. Therefore the Lord, the God Yahweh of hosts, the Lord saith, thus wailing shall be in all streets, and they shall say in all the highways, alas, alas, and they shall call the husbandmen to mourning, and such as are skillful of lamentation to wailing, because he's going to be going through destroying a lot of people. That's what this is saying in verse 16. And I'm going to jump down to verse 24 of Amos 5, and it reads, but let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. So this is what we want to continue to do, is make sure we're doing what's right. And the Most High, he's going to keep doing the judgments. He says his judgments are going forth like the light. That's why we keep seeing stuff on the news every day, because his judgments are going forth as waters, but we got to let righteousness go as a mighty stream. And from there, I'm going to go back to Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66, and I'm going to read verse 22 to 24. And it reads, for as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith the Lord, so shall your seed and your name remain. So after he does all that with all those nations over there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, this is when the kingdom is going to be established. Verse 23, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith the Lord. They're not going to have no choice. The ones that are remaining, the remnants that's left, they're going to be doing what he says. Everyone is going to be doing what he actually says. And then verse 24, and they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. So when people see all those people that are just slain, they're going to know that they were the wicked upon the earth, and they're going to be hated. Everyone's going to know those are the people that transgress against the Most High Yahweh. And from there, I'm going to jump over to Galatians 6, verse 9. Galatians 6, verse 9, and it reads, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. So we got to continue steadfast in this race. As he says, we're going to reap the rewards if we don't give up. We got to continue on, even though we're going through the adversity, but we can't faint. You know, don't faint during adversity. And from there, I'm going to close out with the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 2. 2nd Esdras, chapter 2, verse 35 through 37. And it reads, be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. So he's telling us, remember, Yahushua said that. Be ready in season and out of season. So here it is. He's saying it again. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Verse 36. Flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly. So we got to testify him. We got to do it openly. We can't be ashamed. Like Paul was saying in Romans chapter 1. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. He was saying we can't be ashamed. We got to speak openly. Verse 37. Oh, receive the gift that is given you, and be glad, giving thanks unto him that hath led you to the heavenly kingdom. So if there is a kingdom coming that he is establishing, so when it does come, we should be thanking him now. We should be praying, fasting, thanking him now. And when it does come in, continue to thank him. Because everybody's going to have joy, and they're going to have that peace that surpasses all understanding when that time comes. He said there's not going to be no more weeping, no more pain, no more sorrow. He's going to wipe every tears from our eyes. So this is going to be a joyful thing. So with that, I hope everyone that tuned in was edified. I want to say the water for everyone tuning in. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, to Yahweh, Bashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Shalom.